somewhere. Top 5 Final Four storylines. Number 5. Can Purdue pull a UVA and lose to a 16 seed and then come in and win this thing? You heard it earlier from Brian Newbert. They're on a mission. They're an absolute mission to do that. And in the world of fake sports chips on your shoulder, and I will say this, Baylor could have had one legitimately from the WAPO article. LSU couldn't have, and then LSU had one from the LA Times article, which was legitimate.
Yeah.
But
did we even know there was an LA Times article? Was that known when we talked about this last week?
No, that was just out of the blue. And golly, that was.
So she really said about the WAPO, what she should have been saying about the LA Times to begin with,
Probably,
but we didn't know there was an LA Times article.
Yeah.
So anyways.
So anyway, but a legitimate chip on your shoulder in sports is quite often hard to find because a lot of times they're made up.
It's hard to hear Georgia Bulldogs going, they doubted us all the way here. Like you were the 2-1 favorites to win the entire thing.
He kind of did that.
Yeah, but
I overlooked.
But this was something that happened to them a year ago and fueled them on their way of being only the second team to lose to a 16 seed and to have to go out there and do that and carry that. They had a legit chip on their shoulder, and they've pulled it off there in the Final Four.
It was a 40-plus year chip, but the one last year, the 16 seed.
Well, I mean, that just puts a little more weight on it.
Fairleigh Dickinson?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they look good now. It's Edey's the dude, but they've got some others, man. They got guys who can handle the rock and really do take care of the ball, and they're going to be a tough out.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely got a legitimate reason to have a chip on their shoulder. Not that they were disrespected, but just having that driving factor to go from being embarrassed to being kings of the mountain. And it would be a big deal for Purdue because they've got a basketball national title, but they only one they've won in their history was in 1932. So that is a whole new era a whole different era of college sports and nothing seemingly like what we have now. Outside of that, they've got 5 national titles in that school's history as far as team sports go. Men's basketball in 32, men's golf in 61, women's basketball in 99, women's golf in 2010, and then cheerleading in 2018. So this would be a massive deal for that program, just in general, but for the school as well, as far as accomplishments go. A basketball title always is, but you know what I mean.
The football team has always been just on the edge, but not quite. Braum was doing well, Drew Brees, but yeah, they've been left behind. They have.
Number 4. Who is the biggest matchup nightmare? I think I meant for UConn, but who is the biggest matchup nightmare? Like, what's going to happen? Who? I guess maybe individual player.
Why don't we do this individually?
Yeah, individually. Who's the biggest?
Is it Edey?
Is it Burns? Is it Klingon? Is it one of those guards at Alabama that just bomb threes? I mean, is it Tristan Newton? Who is it? Who's the one dude in this thing you don't want to take?
It's got to be Edey.
Yeah.
Although Burns fools the hell out of a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But if you're fooled by him and you don't know him by now, you're not watching the games. He is a freaking beast of what he does, and he's very nimble, as we said. What did you call him? Ballerina?
The beefy ballerina.
Yeah, and a great touch, too.
Yeah. I want to clarify, too, on Purdue's title. That was not NCAA back in 1932. So this would be their first, NCAA men's basketball national championship. So it would be a massive deal for them, especially after the gut punch previously. But, I had a lot of fun listening to the commentary. I guess it would have been Westwood 1, huh? Doing the tournament games. Yep. And I caught the NC State game, the end of that, because I had to be on the road. But just the thrill in the announcers' voices talking about DJ Burns and just the multiple and ones at the end of the game that just helped seal it away, hitting big shots to continue to keep their lead. About 10 points there, not letting Duke cut too deep into it and get on that run to where maybe pulling an upset. So yeah, he's a lot of fun to watch, and he's certainly been one of the stars of this tournament so far.
I want to bring up a moment in that game that, to me, I did not understand it. I'm not a guy that likes to go into the officiating, whatever, but there was a moment when NC State was up 8, and it was on the Duke side, underneath the Duke basket, and there was like a tip ball that went up above the board, hit the shot clock, and it was obviously off Duke. Duke got possession of the ball, and I was surprised that with a possession-type play, they didn't go to the replay. And they didn't. And I guess it wasn't a replayable, a reviewable play at that particular moment. Maybe it's a timeline deal, but they didn't blink. Duke, Cates got a couple of, got a technical foul for getting outside the box. They hit both free throws, and NC State did not blink. I thought that was a critical time during the game.
Yep, that was the Duke call. But they don't get as many now that Coach K is gone.
They don't get as many as Kansas, but it was a Duke call.
There was the Duke call. Number 3. Can Alabama score enough? Because that's what they're going to have to do. They can maybe not score on, say, like 15% of their possessions. Maybe 20. Like, they have to.
What did Rob say? They have to hit 20-something threes out of 50.
They've got to hit as many threes. They've got to score. Can they do that? Man, that's going to be tough. But if there's a team that can, it is Nate Oates and
I tell you
Alabama. But
who were they playing? I forgot who it was. Was it North Carolina? I can't remember who it was, but they just don't care what the score is. They do. Their basketball IQ is through the roof, but they don't. They just play, and they're fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. They are very fun to watch. Number 2, can anyone really stop UConn? Can anyone really do it? Like, are we looking at a team that might be...
Well, as long as you don't give up a 30-0 run.
Are we looking at like a 2001 Miami of basketball here, where they're just rolling through a Georgia, just
UNLV.
rolling through people?
Yeah.
Like those teams, it is.
I mean, I see that and I understand that, but I also think, man, we're crowning them 2 games early.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No.
I'm already seeing, are they the greatest team of all time? You know, those kind of things. Like, they're just in the Final Four.
Let's wait till they get to it, because people.
Yeah.
I even saw it a couple years ago where people still rated the Gonzaga 21 team above the Baylor 21 team, and like, stupid. I was like, well, I mean, I would think
if only they met.
I even said the author of the tweet, who was a basketball writer, said, well, I'm really grading it on this. I'm like, yeah, but they played each other and Baylor throttled them.
This is when the nerds have taken over too much of sports, is when you're talking. No, I know that they played in the national title game and it was clearly one-sided and they met face-to-face. But I'm more talking about the way. No, shut up, dude. They played. They played head-to-head. And you can't
beat off of him.
Yeah, you need to calm down over there. But you're right. They did, and they left no doubt. And so I'm sorry, but yeah, that's ridiculous. I don't care what category you're talking about, unless it's biggest disappointments in a national title game that was supposed to be ultra competitive. But no, you know, they are a great team. There is no doubt about that. The dominance that they've displayed at times is certainly good fodder for the all-timer conversation, but I don't know. I'm just one of those of like, can we actually see them accomplish that and then talk about whether they're the greatest of all time? But Paul, to your point, they're certainly putting themselves firmly in that conversation. They've just got to win 2 more games. No.
And no, I have not crowned them, but I'm saying, I'm
saying people in general.
That's what I'm saying. Like, can anyone stop them? And if not, are we looking at, you know, a team that's one of the way that they have dominated through this tournament, one of the all-time great teams that you would stack up against anybody. And number 1, NC State Cinderella. My gosh, what a great story. I mean, had
you ever heard of DJ Burns prior to the tournament?
I mean, yeah, because I watched a little bit of ACC. I watched a little ACC basketball, and I'll tell you, I watched them play FSU, and FSU was absolute hot garbage this year, and FSU beat them, and I thought, okay. And then NC State wins a game in the NCAA or in the ACC tournament, and you're like, oh, good for them. And then they just kept on and on and on.
That was so sweet, and then...
And then you're on and on, and then, like, yeah, they won 9 games in a row now, and if they get to 11, that is the ultimate, you know, March Madness story that they have from the school who launched March Madness.
Yeah, there's a cool story. Great to see a guy like DJ Burns getting all this attention, his teammates as well, and another transfer portal guy, third school. That's becoming, I mean, I wonder how much on average that's going to be the case in like 10 years from now. But then again, what rules is everybody playing under at that point, or what does college sports even look like? But yeah, he's now far more well-known to America and can certainly become an even bigger name than he already is if they win a couple more games. But they've certainly added some Cinderella splash to a tournament that, I mean, really otherwise hadn't had a whole lot, right? I mean, there hasn't been a
No,
ton of.
it's not chalk, but you're right. Other than maybe Oakland early and whatever happened, I think the night before,
Yeah.
and then in NC State, it's been pretty much the
That was
dogs
the first
of
weekend,
yeah.
really, and then
Yeah.
and then really it's been NC State's been that story. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun to see them. It's just weird how it plays out where. You had the Pac-12 and the situation that they were in, and then here was Oregon and Washington fighting for a playoff spot, and Washington gets to go and play for a national title. I know the ACC is not on its last breath just yet, although some people are already reading them their last rites, but it is just kind of funny to see NC State making all this noise and just look back and go, and we're trying to break all this up like this. I don't know. It's wild given what the ACC is dealing with that they could end up with the basketball national champion and what should have been a team in the playoff and so on and so forth. But, they're a great story.
It is a great story, and they're playing incredibly well. Duke kind of had the control of that game in tempo, and then NC State turned on the Jets and had a huge second half. Garrett Ross, thank you. Jack McKenzie, Emery Winter is dialing up 365 Sports tonight at 10:30 on the